So Cori Close was the first ever guest in the history of Women's Sports Now, a show about women's sports that we launched last year here, hosted by women, for women and men, talking about women's sports all the time. And season 2 news is coming up on that front very shortly. I don't want to jump the gun. But the reason why I bring this up is after Cori appeared on Women's Sports Now, she came here on this program. And last year, after her team got bounced out of the Final Four by UConn as they just rampaged their way to the national championship last year, had this to say about winning it all potentially. What would winning a title mean to your kids? What would it mean?
Well, I think, one of the biggest gifts Coach Wooden gave me is that when you have the kind of success he had, it validated the way in which he went about his process. And it encouraged me that you can be at the highest levels of excellence, and you don't have to be demeaning. You don't have to be like win at all costs. You don't have to be transactional with your kids and, push all the right buttons to elicit this, response or against each other. And I was like, okay, it is possible to win at the highest levels and to treat people well and to hold high standards and not doing it in a demeaning way. For me personally, it would mean it validates the process, and I would get to pay that forward to somebody else. That you don't have to, you can do things the right way. You can do things with integrity. You can be fiercely competitive and still care about people and invest in their hearts. And so, for me personally, that's the way. I think our players, it would maybe mean something a little bit different. And the fact of they walk down those hallways every day. And there's a trophy case in the Hall of Fame and that has 124 national championships. And
I laugh because that's an insane number.
It's an insane number.
Yeah.
And none of those are women's basketball. So the chance to put that, like when I first got here, I took a picture. There was an empty space in that trophy case, and I took a picture of it, and I put it right next to my desk. That we were going to have uncommon women willing to make uncommon choices, yielding an uncommon result, which is filling that empty space. And so that would be really meaningful to them.
Well, guess what's going to be in that space now? And guess who's going to have their own banner hanging from Pauley Pavilion next to John Wooden's? Cori Close and the 2025-2026 UCLA Bruins. First championship won by UCLA on the women's side of things ever. Well, there was one in the mid-'70s, but that was before, for some reason, the NCAA acknowledged women's basketball. But she got it done, as did the rest of her team, who are just all coming together at the right time this year. They beat Texas on Friday night. Texas, the only team to beat UCLA this year. And they did it and dismantled Texas, which dismantled my Wolverines in the Elite Eight, and then took on South Carolina, which took apart UConn in the Final Four in that other Final Four game on Friday night. And then UCLA just destroyed South Carolina. Destroyed them. And took a halftime lead and expanded on it in a 25-7 masterclass of a third quarter. And all the seniors that Cori Close has had in her locker room and in her program, she played them all, and they scored all but 4 points of the 79 in winning it all. And family all around, whether it is on the screen, you could see Gabriela Jaquez, who is just unbelievable. She does everything. She scores, she runs the floor, she defends, she does all the dirty work, and she had a stat line of 21, 10, and 5. Her brother Jaime dropped 32 on the Heat and then flew out to see her in Phoenix, and we all know Jaime made the Final Four on the men's side of things. So that's the UCLA family. And then the Betts family. Lauren, Big Ten Player of the Year, Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, and Sienna Betts, her younger sister. They won together as a family. And Lauren Betts, unbelievable. These storylines are remarkable. And this was Coach Close I believe. Is this the one where she's got the net and the goggles, the champagne goggles on her championship hat? Had this to say after.
Not about me. It's about watching these incredible young women be dream chasers, to watch them grow in ways that they will remember and it will stick with them for the rest of their lives. And it's about their work and their habits yielding. And we say this, we want to recruit courageous. Gets me choked up. Because there's a lot of times where we wondered if it could be true. I said I wanted to find uncommon, courageous women that were willing to make uncommon choices that maybe possibly could yield an uncommon result. And today it did.
It's like Coach Dale waving the leather satchel that has his game plan in it. Yep. That's what Cori Close has been at 15 years, longest tenured coach at a single school to win a first NCAA title. And she did it with a team that won by 28, third largest margin of victory in a title game ever, 29%. They were suffocating defense, 29%. That's what South Carolina shot from the floor. And in terms of, uncommon, something all too common that young people in our day and age deal with, certainly young women as well, depression. Lauren Betts wrote this remarkable Players Tribune story, I believe March 19th is the date. A remarkable story called I Want to Be Here. Because when she was a freshman in Stanford transferring to UCLA, she was battling depression. She checked herself into UCLA's hospital because she had a bad bout and knew she had to do something about it. And that title means so much. I want to be here, meaning UCLA. I want to be here, meaning being present and being positive. And I want to be here, meaning not the nightmare alternative. Being so open about it. Madison Booker, who is a remarkable player for Texas, shot 3 for 23 in that semifinal loss to UCLA. And afterwards, Lauren Betts talked about how Madison should be given grace, that she's a human. This is what she had to say in winning a championship with her sisters on the court and her sister literally.
I think it's just buying into the process. We have everybody you could possibly want on a team, and you were so skilled at every single position. But I think, the maturity to come in and, sacrifice yourself and your ego and be able to put that aside for moments like these, it makes it so worth it. Because at the end of the day, no one's going to really care how much you average this season. When you have a freaking ring around your finger, no one cares.
Neat stuff. Oh, look at that picture right there. Pretty cool. Lauren Betts holding the championship trophy. Well-deserved what she has become and what she stands for, and the rest, Kiki Rice as well. What a game she had. 31 minutes, 10 points, and the others, Neepkins, Leisure Walker, Dugalich, who's just everywhere. Cori Close put them together. And they bonded together, and, man, they took off. They crushed Texas, held on at the end. It got a little tight as Texas was defending all 94 feet, and then took out South Carolina after they took out UConn. So well-deserved, and I speaking of well-deserved, just a great human. Cori Close is going to get to look up in that pavilion, see all of John Wooden's banners, and look up and go, that's my team. The young lady who has a 22-year-old assistant met John Wooden and visited with him every other week in his apartment in the Valley, is carrying on his and UCLA's traditions. Congratulations to her and everybody part of that program. Just inspiring and awesome, and truly ones to root for. Yeah. Still here on the program. As for South Carolina, what it did against UConn, We didn't talk about it because we were talking about all the other stuff, as we're going to do in hour number 2. The stuff is what Gino brought about during the game and afterwards. But it's a tough loss again for South Carolina, who lost by 23 to UConn last year and now 28 this year in back-to-back losses. I believe we have Don Staley's comments after the game talking about what UCLA was doing and what they were able to do right from jump. This is what she had to say afterwards.
We just didn't have it today. We tried, but we just didn't have it today, and they were the better team today. So, really, congratulations to them. I'm glad sometimes you're a part of women's basketball history, and it's not favorable to you, but you can see if you're going to lose to a team like UCLA, you want to lose to a team that just really outworked you, out-executed you, made it very difficult for you to perform at a high level. And it was a direct reflection of what they did to us.
And she hugged it out with Cori Close before the game, turned around and said, "You see, everybody what I did?" Shook her hand. That's what she said, everybody at the table. Also talked about what it was like to lose to somebody who represents the game as well as Cori Close. And a lot of the comments we thought were just being infused, being maybe thrown as a dart in the direction of Storrs, Connecticut. But we'll talk about that later on. As for South Carolina, just a great team vanquished. UCLA basketball champions. Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app 12 to 3 Eastern.